Hello, friend. Today I would like to tell you the story of the wolf and the moon. Eons ago, when the world was new, the forest steep and great, and the mountains young, the sun and the moon wandered the world together, side by side. The sun shone very brightly, and beside him the moon paled in comparison. The beings of the world would see him and his radiance and loved him, and they would hardly notice the moon. Over time, she became despondent, and as the sun walked on ahead, she fell further and further behind. And in this way, the day was divided from the nighttime. And in his selfishness, he didn't even notice she was gone. At first, in the night, she would come out only briefly and shine just a little. But one creature in particular noticed her and loved her, and that was the wolf. He would come out to the same spot on his hilltop every night and watch her. Eventually she caught on to this and grew confident, and each night she would shine a little bit brighter. But the sun didn't like that. He noticed this going on. He couldn't have anybody outshining him, so he thought of a plan. And one day, as the sun was already setting and the wolf had come out to his spot, ready to greet the moon, the sun jumped back out again and shined right into his eyes, and the wolf was blinded. He was so sad because he would never be able to see his love again, and he wandered the world blindly. The moon noticed that the wolf wasn't coming out to see her, and she grew alarmed. She abandoned her post, and the night became pure darkness, and she wandered looking for her beloved. And eventually she found him, exhausted and emaciated, broken on the ground, and she reached out to touch him and comfort him, and stayed with him. At first the sun was happy, thinking that he'd won. But upon seeing the two together, so happy and in love, he was once again stricken by rage. The whole world adored him, and yet somehow he was not as content as the moon, who was loved by just one. In his jealousy, he went down to her and grabbed her and threw her up into the sky so that she could never again be reunited with the wolf. Unable to see her or feel her, the wolf began to sing a sad song for her every night. He wandered once again into the wilderness. Eventually, exhausted, he collapsed into the soft sand of a beach to take a rest. The moon saw him lying there, wanting so badly to caress him. She reached out and pulled the tide up over him like a blanket. The lapping waves comforted his weary body, and as he let go of his aches and his pains, the water started to change him. Where once he had shaggy fur, now it became slick, and where there used to be legs, now there were flippers. He was given a second life in the ocean, where he could swim freely, away from the scrutiny of the sun. He was very happy there, hunting by vibration with his long whiskers. But one day he strayed too close to the shoreline while he was rooting out clams in the sand, and he didn't see the hunter in his canoe. The man stabbed into the water with his harpoon, and the moon saw him slay her beloved and swore upon him a terrible curse. The man took home his prey and gave the pelt to his wife as a gift. It was warm and beautiful, but it happened to be that when she tried it on, the moon was coming into fullness, and it filled her with a strange sense of longing. In the deep of the night, when her husband was asleep, she snuck out to try to slate this wanderlust, and it led her to the ocean. The wind was cold, so she drew up the fur cloak around her, and it fused with her skin, turning her into a seal. Under the full moon, she swam out into the sea and explored its mysteries until daybreak. She stepped back onto the shore as a woman then, shook out the water from the cape, and the craving that had overtaken her subsided until the time of the next full moon. This cycle went on for a while, and the hunter may never have noticed, except that her belly began to become full and round. They had been trying to conceive a child for years, to no avail, but now finally the blessing had come. When the baby was born, it was not a human child that she was cradling, but a furry seal pup, and he was utterly horrified. He accused her of all manner of horrible things, and his heart burned fiercely with doubt and suspicion. But she held the baby close and was equally horrified by his reaction to their beautiful gift. Where once these people were fondly in love, now there was only mistrust and alienation. And the hunter stayed awake night after night, watching with paranoia. The full moon came, and he caught her in her wild trance trying to make her ocean pilgrimage. And in his rage, he tore the fur cape away from her and threw it into a fire. She cried out in pain, unable to fulfill her pact with the goddess, and the true nature of the curse was revealed. The water of life ran from her. Realizing his terrible mistake way too late, the hunter tried to embrace his love, but she dried up and fell through his fingers as a crumbling stream of salt. He wept bitterly, but his own mourning was interrupted by a loud, yet tiny, sobbing voice, and he turned to see that the seal pup baby was never a beast at all, but a beautiful little girl with flaming red hair, just like his. The illusion of the moon had worn off, and the debt repaid, a love for a love. The truth revealed that his selfishness had cost him the most precious thing he had. He wiped away his own tears and scooped up the child, holding her close and promising to love and protect her for the rest of his days. Sometimes he would take her down to the seashore, and the spirit of her mother could be felt in the salt of the breeze and the taste of their tears. The moral of this story is to cherish life's blessings. Don't fear reflection or the mysteries of the divine feminine. Periodically delve into deep of the subconscious in order to restore fertility to your own creative life. And take time to replenish what refills your cup. Seriously, hydration is crucial. Have you had enough water today? Should get on that. Thank you so much for joining me, friend. This has been a fun myth to explore and write. The first part was told to me by a dear friend of mine, and the second I have written.